All right, we're here with Dave Massey. You're Mr. IE. So how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks, Charles.
We've had you on Channel 9 a long time ago, right?
I'm not sure I've ever been on a video, actually. I was
Really?
behind the camera a couple of times
That's
in the early
right.
stages, but
Right on.
yeah.
Well, welcome to being in front of the camera.
Thank you very much.
So IE7 is releasing, and
Yes.
I just wanted to talk to you about, because you're the lead program manager. Why don't you just tell us what you do?
I'm actually a senior program manager. I'm responsible for a lot of the developer experience stuff that goes on around IE, so that includes things like the SDK documentation and the developer toolbar that we've developed, and some strategic thinking as well. So we're pretty excited to be releasing Internet Explorer 7 very shortly now, and the team's hard at work testing the final builds at the moment.
Cool. So what's your favorite new features? Like, what are the top new greatest things for Internet Explorer in your mind?
There's so much.
All right, but what do you personally like the most?
Personally, well, it depends where I'm coming from.
Uh-huh.
As an end user, there are a couple of things I really like. I like the open search facility, the ability for different search providers to integrate into that search box and expose themselves. I like the whole favorites management, just the way that we've improved that, and the tabs and the quick tabs.
Yeah.
Possibly one of the most significant things, the thing I like most, is the new printing support.
Huh.
Before on IE6 rather, you'd print out a page and you'd find the right hand side of the page got cut off because it wouldn't fit into the available width of the page.
Sure.
And the one time I want to print out a page is when it's a receipt and all the totals are on the right hand side of the page, and so
Yeah.
I lose the totals. And now with IE7 we automatically shrink to fit the printing. So we shrink the content into the width of the page, so you actually get to print what's actually on your screen. But if you go into the print preview, there's lots of enhancements there where you can show all the pages that you're about to print. You can adjust the headers and the footers and the margins, so you can really get better control over printing. When we started IE6, or IE7, we looked at IE6 as printing and realised we needed to do something around that. We looked at all the browsers, different printing support, and really there's no browser that was doing great printing. You click the print button and you might end up with some random piece of print coming out depending on what was going on in the browser at the time. And I think we've really managed to make good progress around printing. And printing is one of the basic things. You should be able to print out what you see on the screen. And
Agreed.
so, it's a little late in coming, but we're finally there
Well,
with IE7.
but it's kind of a hard problem, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure
Actually,
you feel a lot of
printing
devs.
is a much bigger problem than you initially think. It's like you have to relay out all the content and everything else for the right available width of paper, and it's just a nightmare. And it's depending on what the printer is providing you in terms of support as well. It's a big problem, but I think we've done a pretty good job in IE7, and being able to print out what you're seeing on the screen is just great. So I can take hard copy and take it on the bus or wherever I want and read it.
Yeah. Now, we used to work together, and I remember you've also been long time on the IE discussion aliases and stuff like that, and we used to go back and forth, with the security issues that IE traditionally had. Now, let's be fair here. I'd like to get into this a little bit. I mean, it's an internet-facing application, therefore it's the #1 target, one could argue, right? And you know that 80% of the people running Windows are typically using it. So if I'm a hacker, I'm going to try to hack what I know people are using. Let's talk a little bit about challenges of security and what you've done in IE7 specifically to address these issues.
So we've done a ton of work around security in IE7. IE6, it was a great browser when it came out, and but really the security has become much more to the forefront over the last few years. And so with IE6 SP1 we concentrated on security, and then with XP-SP2 we really concentrated even further on security, with things like the information bar coming down and
Absolutely.
so forth. Now in IE7 we'd actually already identified some work that really needed to wait for a major release of the browser. So there's some architectural work that we've undertaken in IE7 that's completely transparent to the end user. They're not going to see it at all, but it just makes us it's some defense in depth so that it's much more difficult for the bad guys to attack us and get through. what we actually work through is something we call threat model analysis. Mm-hmm. So every time we do a major design change in the browser, we actually look at that part of the process and all the different inputs to the part of the process. And even if it's really, really unlikely that dangerous input could ever get to that part of Internet Explorer code, we are trying to understand, well, what if the bad guys got in at that point, and how can we mitigate any of the damage that might happen if there's some dangerous input? And you're quite right when you point out that, IE is at the heart of browsing potentially dangerous content on the web, and therefore it is really vulnerable. One of the things that I think we're proudest of is some work that we've done that's unfortunately only available in Windows Vista because it relies on the user account control features for security in Windows Vista, and this is protected mode, where we actually run Internet Explorer with such reduced permissions that even if an attack does get through, either an exploit in Internet Explorer or what seems to be more likely these days, an exploit in an extension to Internet Explorer, then there's very limited amount of damage that an attack can do. And we're pretty happy with how protected mode has gone, because it really is this next level of security where you can browse the web and be pretty sure that if an attack gets through, it's not going to be able to do any damage to your machine.
Cool. And let's Vista is releasing soon, and it's RC2, so we can definitely talk about IE7 on Vista, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But specifically, when your user account control integration certainly doesn't mean that someone tries to install malicious ActiveX, you just pop open the, do you want to run this malicious ActiveX? And I say yes, because I'm used to seeing the sign, or I don't really pay attention. Doesn't mean you're still, the point is, let's talk about this. What does protected mode really mean?
Well, the way that I explain protected mode is, really today, with Windows XP, if you're logged in as an administrator, then all your software runs with admin privileges. So IE is running with admin privileges, and if an attack gets through an exploit, any extension in IE is running with admin privileges, that exploit can take out the system, because this exploit has administrator privileges to the entire system. Things are a little bit better if you're running as a limited user, because the attack can get through and it might not be able to take out the system, but it can certainly take out the user's data. With protected mode, we're running IE with such reduced privilege that if an attack gets through, there's very little damage that it can do. Now, the bad guys are still going to be attacking through there, and this is not a silver bullet for security. There's no such thing as a silver bullet for security, especially when it comes to the internet. But we think this is a significant step forward that's going to really stop code execution attacks from doing damage to the user's machine. Okay.
So if I were to go to a website and download an EXE on IE7 running Vista in protected mode, and then I try to run it, what happens?
So if you download an EXE, then that's actually going to run as a separate process. What's happening is Internet Explorer is running as a protected mode process. A standard EXE process isn't going to be running in protected mode, because whoever was actually the developer of the process has to do the extra work to ensure that it'll run in this protected mode. So for Internet Explorer, there's broker processors put in place in order to sort of prevent what the broker process actually does is, if there's a legitimate request for administrative privileges, for system privileges, then it goes through a broker process that makes sure that that request is legitimate, rather than it just being through an exploit.
Fantastic. Now, I even asked Bill Bill Gates, about the thing that I'm sure you're tired of having to answer over and over again, but this is the first time we've had you on camera, so I get to harangue you a little bit. So the waiting, right, the stopping of innovation in IE after IE, what was it, 6 or 5 years, it basically stopped because we wanted to move to different ideas that were beyond just browsing. Let's reflect on that, and let's reflect on what you've been able to achieve in a really short period of time to catch up.
Yeah. So, really, when IE6 was released back in 2001, at the time it was a pretty good browser. We can certainly look back and say now it's showing its age a little bit, but at the time it was a reasonable browser. But ecosystem around the internet has moved on since then. Security has become much more important. Users have started to expect a much better user experience from the browser. And certainly when it comes to the platform, web developers started to use CSS cascading style sheets more and more, and that showed up some of the cracks and some of the problems with the implementation that we had in Internet Explorer 6. And so, really when we look at the work we've done in IE7, it's kind of confronting some of the security issues, revamping the user interface, introducing the tabs support, and making users more productive when they're on the web. With things like the search facilities and everything else. And then, for the web developers, we've done a lot of work. Now, we know we've got more work to do in that space, but really what we did is we went out to some of the community, the Web Standards Project, and so forth, and went to some of the websites such as positioniseverything.net that lists all these different issues with Internet Explorer 6. And by working with the community, we actually managed to prioritize the work that we've done in Internet Explorer 7. And we're continuing to work with the community so we can prioritize the work that we do in the next few versions as well. But I can't remember what your question was now.
This is good though.
Anyway.
Well, my question was basically, I wanted to once and for all just
the
dig
reflection
into
on
just the reflection on, by abandoning IE, and that's pretty much what seems to the public that we did. And then, but now we've come back full on.
We definitely have. We're back. The IE team is back with a vengeance. We're back not just for this release. We're not going to all go on vacation for another 5 years. We're actually committed to regular and frequent releases of the browser moving forward. Now, how frequent? That's still going through the planning process at the moment. There's a school of thought that says we've got to get very frequent releases out there. I'm not sure that that's necessarily the right thing, and this is an interesting point to get some feedback on.
Yeah.
If you come out with a release every single year, then in 5 years' time, that's 5 releases of the browser that web developers still have to support, because somebody's probably going to be running the older versions of the browser. And then we've increased the amount of work that a web developer has to put in to make sure that web pages run on all supported versions of Internet Explorer. Clearly, 5 years between releases is way too long, though, and we need to actually be releasing on a regular basis. But the IE team has been rebuilt over the last couple of years, and we're back with a vengeance. And we know we've got a lot more work to do, but we're very happy with Internet Explorer 7. It's clearly a huge step forward in terms of security, user experience, and giving the web developers that platform on which to rely.
Fantastic. Well, we talk about the IE team, and let's go meet some of these people, huh?
Let's
just go walk in on them.
Walk the hallways and see who we can find.
Let's do
It's
it.
kind of just after lunch, so
Good,
maybe
let's see if they're
all having their after lunch nap.
Okay. But this will be good, because I want to really see that this team does really exist.
The team does exist. And here's Pete LePage.
Hey,
How you doing?
pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Pete LePage is our new product manager for developers. So
All right.
Excellent.
So this is the guy you harangue when the platform isn't delivering what we're supposed to deliver, huh?
That will be me.
Yep.
Right on.
Awesome.
Welcome to IE.
Thank you. Good to be
This
here.
is Tony Tabs Schreiner. He's
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Tony's a developer, worked on the Tabs user interface for.
Cool. Let me come this way because
Okay.
the sun is really bright.
Okay.
So what do you work on?
So I work on tab browsing. I'm the one that took the IE6 architecture and tried to retrofit it to support multiple tabs in IE7.
Nice job, man. Looks very cool.
Yeah.
So, real developer on camera.
Yeah.
Nice. Great to meet you.
Great, thank you.
Just walking the hallways.
This is completely unplanned, which is very fun.
This is Lee. Lee is lead developer on the
Hey.
whole user experience and the tabs as well.
Nice.
So
This is Channel 9.
Wonderful Channel 9 thing.
Yeah.
Meet my little friend Tokumi.
Very cool. So tell us about yourself. What exactly are you working on these days?
These days I'm working on planning for the next version of IE right now, but my team for IE7, we did all the frame UX, tab browsing, things like that, all the UI features.
Fantastic. Well, great work.
Sure.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks.
I guess we should be asking people what their favorite feature is, huh?
We should indeed. Yeah, if we want to talk to real developers, we'll just pop in on Roland and Dustin here.
In the middle of having a conversation.
Great, yeah.
Hey.
So, Roland is lead developer on the whole object model area, aren't you?
Object model, accessibility.
Nice. Very cool.
And Justin is our developer. He does a lot of the work around object model and the scaling stuff.
Extensibility, exactly the same stuff. So parsing, CSS, JavaScript integration, that sort of thing.
Excellent, man. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. How long you been on the team?
Well, I started Microsoft '97. I've been on the IE team. Let's see, IE 5.5, IE 6. Went to Avalon and came back to IE 7, and yeah, it's been a great time.
Fantastic. Very cool. What about you?
I came in right before IE7 Beta 1 shipped, so I've been here about a year and a half now.
Very cool. Well, hey, great job, you guys. Nice to meet you.
What's your favourite feature of IE7?
Favorite feature? Wow. I guess I'd have to say, put me on the spot there. I guess security is my favorite feature. I mean, we did a lot of work with security, and I think IE7 is the most secure browser that we're going to ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Very cool. How about you? I guess we're going to ask everybody this.
Yeah, for me, it's
Channel 9 interviews are totally random, man.
totally random.
So.
Awesome. So for me, it's probably tab browsing. At first, I didn't want to admit that I use tab browsing all the time, but I think as I move forward, I always find myself with at least 8 tabs open. So
Yeah.
definitely.
That's cool. I'm actually finding it hard to get used to tabs. Like, I just keep opening new instances of IE. I'm like, wait a minute, just do it. Just create a new
Once
tab.
you get used to it, it's really difficult to go back. I've got IE6 on one machine, and I keep middle clicking on things, trying to open it in a new tab, and nothing happens. It's really frustrating.
Very cool. Great to meet you guys. It's nice to meet the devs behind the project. Good work,
Awesome.
man.
Thanks, man.
Now, we should actually talk to these guys, since we talked about protected mode.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to bust in on Robert and Marc. These are the protected mode guys.
Whoa, hey!
I gave a really bad explanation of protected mode earlier, so we might want to redo it with you guys. Sort of.
All right.
So tell us about what protected mode is, because you can talk about it better than me.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, Robert, but
Yeah.
I think that protected mode, the way I would say it is, it's a defense in depth feature that we've added to IE7, but only in Vista, and it takes advantage of the Vista security technologies to basically restrict the IE process from doing certain things. And those certain things are writing to files or registry keys outside of a certain location, and sending window messages to other higher privilege processes. So that's protected mode, I think, in a nutshell, from the security perspective.
Now, let's say that there happens to be for some reason, a vulnerability in one of the scripting objects. And it just so happens that I just have to go to a page and something bad can happen without me doing anything. This is also protected.
Yeah, we are going to prevent evil exe installation. And recently I just went to China for tech ed. A lot of people is concerned about click and own. And for those evil software, they call 流氓软件. So it's very popular in China. They want to prevent those kind of software installation. So protected mode is just for that.
Yeah, I mean, these are known as the drive-by install scenarios that we've seen users very concerned about, and protected mode hits at the heart of that.
Yeah, and the customer not only want protected mode for IE, they want protected mode for Office, for MSN, everything.
Yeah, anything that's connected to the internet should be protected.
Yes, exactly.
Because that's where the bad guys hang out.
Yes.
Right?
But
Exactly.
it's not a job for the faint-hearted putting something into protected mode. These guys have done pioneering work in this area, and they're sharing with other people so other people can write their applications to run in protected mode as well.
Very
But we think
cool.
it's particularly good for something like a browser, which is taking so much untrusted input from all over the internet. It's like running a browser in protected mode makes perfect sense.
So then if I'm running let's say I'm running IE6 on XP and I'm hosting WinForms, which I know you guys did incredible work to enable that, and this team did. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to talk to the developers that did that. It's not going to break in protected mode, right? It doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that I can't run things that require full trust.
Right.
Let's talk about that confusion that could exist.
Sure, yeah. So we've done a lot of work, most of our work really, in the compatibility side of protected mode, so that extensions just continue to work. There are compatibility features like a redirection shim that will take a file write and redirect it to a virtual location. So an extension, like WinForms as an example, thinks they're still writing to the user profile, but actually that it goes to a virtual location. So it'll just continue to work as expected.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, nice work, you guys.
Thank you.
So, but hold on though. Let's introduce yourselves a little more. What's your name?
My name is Robert Gu. I'm the dev lead for Protected Mode.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm Marc Silbey. I'm a program manager on Protected Mode.
Right on. Well, great work, you guys. Nice
Thanks
to
a
meet
lot.
you.
Thank you.
It's good meeting
Thanks,
you
guys.
All right, Dr. Massey.
Okay. Let's walk this way and see what we can find.
Building 2 looks surprisingly like Building 10.
Yeah, we'll go to building 10 in a bit, but we'll just say quick hi to Travis, who we saw earlier.
How you doing, Dave? How you guys doing?
This is Travis Leithead. He's program manager for object models. So tell us about what you've done for Internet Explorer 7.
Oh my, we have made IE7 much more secure. We've been working on all the security fixes that come in, so we know about that stuff. We make the change. We make our customers a lot safer.
Good. So specifically with this object model, you're targeting developers, right? Is there anything? So are there new programming constructs in IE7 for developers?
We have we've done a lot of fixing and repair work, but we haven't added a lot of new APIs in that sense for IE7. However, as we start planning for future versions, we are going to be making a lot of improvements in that area.
Very cool.
Trying to make developers really happy.
Good, because the Web 2.0 is the big thing these days, right?
Yep. For IE7 we did a lot of work around the cascading style sheets, which is really helping the web designers. Travis's area is more in the programming side, and we haven't focused on that quite so much for IE7, but we have done things like native XML HTTP and a lot of JavaScript performance work, so that IE7's a stronger release in that aspect. But as Travis said, we need the feedback now on what developers would like to see in the next version of IE.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Well, hey, great work, man.
Hey, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Take care, guys.
So now we're back out into the lobby, and you'll see a nice neon E.
Very cool. What a nice day. Wow. It's winter, isn't it? No, it's fall.
Let's see who else we can find. Let's interview Vidya. Vidya's our test lead on Internet
Is it
Explorer.
on the Channel 9 stuff?
You got
This is
it.
the Channel 9 stuff.
So it's totally random.
Introduce yourself, tell us
Yeah.
what you do, and why IE7 is so great.
This is down level ISON or...
Down level, all Vista, we're discussing anything in IE7.
Okay, because mine is Vista.
Yep.
Alright.
Oh, cool.
Hi, my name is Vidya and I work as a test lead on the Lorex IE stuff, aka Protected Mode IE. It's one of the security features in IE7, and it's a great security feature for all the home users using IE7 on Windows Vista.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about testing and what you do to test IE. Are you trying to break stuff? What is the role of a tester on the IE team?
Well, we want to ship the world-class product, so we do whatever it takes to test the IE7 product usable for the customers.
Very cool.
Planning test cycles and writing test cases.
Yeah.
A lot of work around that.
It'd be fun. That'd be a good job, though.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to break IE. Sending emails to Dave when you find flaws.
Oh, yes, they all do.
Great to meet you.
Thank you. See ya.
Eric.
Hi.
Hey.
Eric is our test lead on application compatibility. So
right.
application compatibility is one of those things that's really important because when you're a browser, you've got to browse all the pages out on the web, and there's kind of this tension between adding features and fixing things and modifying behavior and still being able to browse the current internet in its current state. So Eric helps us make sure that we've got application compatibility, not just with websites, but also with applications that reuse some of the reusable components of IE themselves.
And extensions.
And extensions
Wow.
as well, making sure the extensions are.
So that's quite a workload, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot to do.
Yeah?
To do. Yeah.
Excellent. So what? Give us an example of what you do, like not specific, bug numbers. But.
Well, we do a lot of things. A lot of it is really debugging things because, I mean, we're not the specific owners for any particular bug. We actually try to debug it down to the actual component that does own it. So a lot of ours is actually going through the debugging process for the extension. Also defining what we do cover too, and actually testing the extensions or the controls or the websites or the applications. There's a lot of different things like that.
So now, are you finding that unfortunately, a lot of developers had gotten used to in the past in writing components that require admin privileges even when they don't require admin privileges. So you're running into situations where you hit extensions that were written assuming they could have admin privileges, but in fact they can't, not on Vista. So you're running
quite a bit.
Cool.
Quite a bit, actually. There's a lot of stuff with the window messaging, and as well as an expectation that they can write to particular areas of the registry, which they may have been able to do in the past, but because of some new features and security mitigations, they're no longer able to do. So we're hitting a lot of that kind of.
And then you work with the extension developers and show them what to do and how to fix it.
Exactly.
Very cool.
First we identify, then we actually talk to them and tell them what they need to do.
Nice job. Good.
Cool.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry to interrupt your lunch.
Smells good. What a big team.
It really has grown quite a lot.
Those are people from Mix, right?
Sorry?
I recognize them from Mix.
Yep. So a lot of these guys were Mix. Yeah, it's big dive actually. Big scale.
What was that?
And so
might as well stop and
it
talk to
starts
these
spreading knowledge about it, and there's more and more discussion about its design. And so that's very cool.
It's going to be really challenging for layout. And the cool thing that we did for Avalon, Pete and I did on Avalon was we were pushing on developer scenarios. Now the problem is that since you're building a platform, you can't develop scenarios for every API. But what you can do is come up with a representative set that you use to sort of drive the API.
We're just eavesdropping here.
Oh, okay.
Actually, this is Channel 9. We're just meeting the team.
Oh, cool. Hi, Channel 9.
Hey, who are you? What's going on?
Introduce yourself.
I'm Kara Richardson, and I've been on vacation, so I think I'm still a lead of layout, but we'll know in a few weeks.
All right.
I'm Pete Gurevich. I'm the program manager for all things rendering and display and imaging, and also performance.
Nice.
They keep me busy here.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And I'm Harley Ross now. I'm a dev lead in the probably in the object model and markup area.
All right. Well, nice. So what's new in that area on IE7?
In IE7, actually, I didn't work on IE7. I'm new for the next release of IE.
I keep asking that. It's totally understood. I want to hear Dave say, "We can't talk about that at this point." His famous canned response.
My famous canned response. We can't talk about future versions of IE at this time. We're actually planning at the moment, and we welcome all the feedback, so we can prioritise that work for the next 1 version, 2 versions, 3 versions.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right.
But Pete's done a lot of work around performance.
Done a lot of work of making the JavaScript engine a lot faster, so a lot of those sites out there that rely heavily on Ajax, they'll run a lot smoother, we'll see a lot less memory leaks, a lot better performance, just a better overall experience for the user, which is really what we're going after.
So I have a question for you then, because you would know this for sure. So in the old days, which I think is 6.0,
yes, we consider that the old days.
You were only able to initiate 2 asynchronous web requests at once. Yes. Please tell me that's no longer the case.
That is still the case because it's actually part of the networking RFC.
I see. So it has nothing to do with you guys.
It's also part of the web.
There's a registry key that's available that will actually to up that limit, and we'll actually go and see if Eric Lawrence is in the room asking that very question because he's the expert around networking.
I also believe 2 connections is part of the standards, and that is one of the things where we are trying to be standards compliant. other browsers out there, they may choose to have more than 2 connections. That's really their choice.
Yeah. But of course, you could always just have a WinForm and just use the CCR and have 1,000 connections. It could work, no
you can
problem.
write your own extensions to do
Got
whatever
it.
you want. Yeah.
Good point. I just had to ask that just because as a web developer way in the past, I remember that limitation. Now with the mashup world, it seems like you'd want to have, 50.
I certainly think it's something we need to go and visit, but let's go and visit
All right,
Eric
let's
and
go
see
visit.
if he's there, because he
This
can
is
talk about
great.
it.
Hey, great to meet you guys. Great work.
Nice to meet you.
i7's very cool.
Thanks
See
so
ya.
much.
So the product manager is following us around. Do you speak or what?
I do speak. I'm pretty new to the team, so I'm still sort of figuring out who everybody is and what's going on around here.
So this is perfect for you.
This is awesome for me because I haven't really met everybody yet, and this is a good way for me to actually meet everybody.
All right.
Eric's not here. So
Eric's
we'll
not
swing
here.
back and see if he's around later. We'll go and see if we can find Bruce Morgan.
Aha, yes.
Actually, let's stop
He's
here.
a famous
Let's stop
coffee
here.
houser.
And we'll just have a quick chat with these guys. This is John Berry. He's the development manager for Internet Explorer.
Hello.
And
Hi.
Sean, who's an architect. And
Hi.
we'll
Hi.
just have a couple of quick words about what did you do in IE7 and what's your favourite feature?
Well, I had an opportunity to contribute to protected mode IE, as well as splitting IE from the shell, and a little bit with RSS. So that was cool. Feel good about that.
So, but splitting IE from the shell, that's in Vista.
In Vista and down level on XP and Server 2003.
Very interesting. And so, what does that mean to the end user?
Well, it means that we can ship Internet Explorer separately from the rest of the operating system. So when we ship IE down level, we don't change how the operating system looks or feels. You only get IE.
Interesting.
Because in previous versions of IE, if you had Windows Explorer open, you typed an HTTP address, you'd navigate in place to the website. With Internet Explorer 7, it'll open a new Internet Explorer.
So
window.
it just shell executes whatever your
exactly what it does.
It does shell execute, so you'll actually get your default browser in that case. Unlike in the past where everything would navigate in frame. And it's not quite correct to say when you install IE7 it doesn't change how the operating system behaves. I mean, you still replace MS-HTML and some of the lower level
That's
things,
what I was going to
but-
ask, because you have shared components. That was the whole
but
reason.
what it does mean is that the shell itself, Explorer, is substantially unaffected by this, and this was a key thing that we did in order to be able to ship, sort of Vista generation code for the web browsing components down on Windows XP and Server 2003 without incurring all kinds of compatibility issues that we would have doubtless incurred if we had replaced BrowserUI, Shawapi, ShadokView, a lot of the shared browser frame DLLs.
Sure. So that was a pretty challenging upgrade to pull off, huh?
There were some hairy moments.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, great to meet you guys. Thank you for doing that.
Likewise.
Very cool. They probably have no idea what Channel 9 is, huh?
Probably not. I did send an email earlier. And this is our fabulous admin.
Yeah, clearly I'm
Felicity.
working really hard at this.
Well, you
very
certainly have a
second
cool office. Wow.
That I don't want that part in there.
Oh no, it's all going out unedited.
Uh-oh.
Sleep.
Very nice. So you're the one that gets do you do all the work, real work
I do all
around
the
here?
real work around here. Yeah.
Definitely.
Things running
I'm the
smoothly.
boss.
Definitely.
Yep.
Very cool. Is Dave hard to work with?
He's the worst.
Yeah. That's what I was
No.
thinking.
He's no good. Good for nothing, Dave. That's what we call him around here.
Oh, no.
True. Thanks for
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
That's gonna look cool.
Now this is the infamous Bruce Morgan.
This is Bruce Morgan.
Yeah.
All right.
Spend a few minutes with Bruce. Since
Absolutely.
He's a familiar name.
So you are a familiar name. Thanks for all the time you spend on Channel 9.
You're welcome.
So what do you do anyway? What's your real job?
My real job? Well, I am the dev manager for the IE user experience team, and also one of my leads works on the RSS features and the RSS platform,
Cool.
And another one of my leads runs the setup team.
Wow.
So basically, it's all of UI. I use UI outside of the rectangle of the page, the setup feature team, and the RSS feature team.
Nice. And we had, I think you were on here before with Tony Chor and Dean with Scobel.
Yeah, yeah.
A while ago, when you announced the RSS platform. So what's new since then? Anything big news in that area since then?
Well, I think we're about
Do you
to
remember?
ship. That's probably the big news. It's done. It's ready to go.
Excellent.
That's probably about it. I mean, people who have kept up with IE7 have seen some of the smaller features we've added and some of the tweaks we've made.
Mm-hmm. Now that RSS feature you guys have written, there's an API for it, right? I mean, is it scriptable?
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about the RSS platform. When we started out doing the RSS features in IE, we started specking out RSS reader functionality. I was a big proponent of the the lightweight reading experience.
Yeah.
I didn't want to turn IE into a heavyweight 3-pane reader. So I was a big proponent of that, but that probably wasn't going to be enough to really move the needle. I think one of the things that was cool about the way we did RSS was try to figure out, okay, we're doing RSS features in IE, how do we make that broader and more useful to people? And since we're Windows, the easy way to do that is make it accessible as APIs. So that's what we built, the platform. And then we built a UI on top of the platform IE. Those are sort of the same people under the same lead, so that the technology, we're building the platform and then the first and best client of that platform. And then we got another whole set of Microsoft internal teams to build on it, give us feedback. So
excellent.
Pretty exciting.
Very, very cool. Well, RSS is the big rage now, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So thanks again for spending so much time in the coffee house. It's very cool. You're a dev manager, right? Hanging out in the coffee house.
Yeah, I spend time there in the evenings and stuff like that. It's
cool.
a lot of fun.
So what do you think of Channel 9? What's your...
I love the videos.
You watch any of the videos?
I watch the videos. They're informative to me. I mean, before Channel 9, it was harder to see what other people are working on around the company. The coffee house is fun to go play, and I tend to jump in on IE threads. I'm not much active on some of the other threads.
Sure.
I do try to read IE threads.
Very cool. Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of feedback for this video. So
good.
Enjoy. Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just walking around, meeting the team. So great work. Cool. Okay. That's the thing with random tours, huh?
Random tours.
But at least people get to see the building where the IE team works.
Sunny outside, isn't it?
Totally. And it's Monday.
Yeah. Of course. Just quickly interrupt here.
We'll see very quickly.
This is Doug's
name's familiar.
His
It should be.
responsibility on IE7 is shipping the product.
Really?
Yep. Making sure that the product actually ships.
Cool.
And so he is a very happy man at the moment because we're about to ship.
Because we are how many days away, Dave?
9, is it?
9, I believe. 9 short days, and I can't wait. I really can't wait. This thing is winding down. We've worked very hard for many hours, many weekends, many 6, 7-day weeks, but it's coming together.
Good job.
It is coming together. Yeah.
Very cool.
Finally seeing fruits of our labor coming to full fruition, and everyone loves it.
Cool. So what does it mean to say that you are responsible for shipping the product? What does that mean?
It means overall we function in a way that you could call a triumvirate or a triad of people who are responsible overall. So there's a program manager in that area, there's a development manager or lead, and there's a test manager or lead. And the three of us actually work together to make decisions about the product overall. And we do all the release management activities. We run the ship room, we make determinations on whether or not bugs are recall class, etc., so that we can actually make sure that the product is ready and ship on time.
Very cool. So you're the one who has the final sign-off.
That would be correct. That would be correct. Of course, my boss would say that he would sign just above my name, but of course, sure. We're the guys who actually, day-to-day, are responsible for making sure that it happens outside of the folks coding the fixes. Yeah.
All right. Well, great job. And who are you? You're just sitting here silently?
I'm a new hire on the IE team.
Uh-huh.
So I just started last week.
All right.
So I'm reporting to Doug and just handling some of the small work for the release. And then after that, I'm going to be working on the Trident team.
All right. And Trident is the core rendering engine, or the core...
Yes.
Core HTML parser, render, object model.
Which, of course, was completely rewritten for IE7, right?
Not completely rewritten, no. A significant amount of work's going to be done and going to continue to be done in that area for that web dev audience that I was talking about
Beautiful.
earlier.
Great. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again. I remember
See you
you a
again.
long time ago.
Of
You probably
course.
don't remember me.
Back when you were still writing web code.
You know it. That was a while ago, wasn't it? Now look at me.
It's been what?
The world has changed.
That's probably been 4 years.
Oh, no. It's been probably
5 years?
6 years.
I just ran into William Wu over at the Pro Club here recently as well.
So is he back with the company?
No.
Because I remember he retired, yeah.
Yeah.
And Renan left.
I'm
Tom Sweinheim's left.
Oh, Tom left too?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, they're all baking in the sun in Tahiti or something. I don't know.
Poor guys.
Nice to see you again,
Good to
Doug.
see you again.
Charles, let's just have a quick word with Kelly Ford. Kelly Ford is one of our testers and is actually working in the area of accessibility, which clearly he's an expert on.
Absolutely. So tell me, so what are you focusing on specifically?
So I run a team and we focus on the user experience. We own search, history, favorites, clear my tracks, and then I also own accessibility for the product, the UX features.
Cool. Now, have there been improvements in IE7?
Yes, we've made a lot of improvements. We've improved the keyboard access to a lot of the toolbars in the product. We've maintained compatibility with a lot of third-party assistive technology like screen readers and screen magnifiers. There's a lot of companies that build on top of IE to make the web accessible, and so we've worked extensively with those companies. We've done some things with those companies, for example, to make some of the new visual things like the trust badge, exposed programmatically in ways that their users will get notified, hey, you're on a secure website automatically without, it works pretty well.
Very cool. And so have you guys integrated it all with the ease of access components in Vista, or?
Well, we make sure that we work right with all that stuff.
Sure.
We fix bugs like where we didn't work right in some cases with speech input, or and we always make sure that we test with the on-screen keyboard and narrator and things like that.
Excellent. Well, that's great work. Accessibility is exceptionally important stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Definitely.
Thanks very much.
Well, great to meet you.
Thanks, you.
So my battery's running low on this camera,
Okay,
which
well,
is our new
let's-
camera, which is sort of surprising to me.
Go back into my office then and
All right.
find a charging point if you've remembered your charger.
Uh-oh. All right.
So we met a few of the team there, but clearly there's a few people out there, officers, and there's lots more people. But we should head over to building 10 and try and find the RSS guys in a minute.
We should and see, talk to them about the new great RSS stuff. But
Absolutely.
we've
So
had them
anything
on.
else you want to discuss before we leave building 2, though?
No, I mean, I've been using IE7 on Vista and XP.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I like it. You know, I'm not noticing, to be honest with you, besides the UX features, I'm not noticing it. You know, it's not like a degradation in performance. It's faster. I've noticed it somewhat faster.
Yep.
And other things I've noticed that are interesting, I like tabs now. I'm also really impressed with the security features. IE's being a lot more, I like the phishing filter. That's a big one.
Yes.
And I know that you guys probably share technology in that area with Windows Mail,
Yep.
right? Yeah, which is incredibly
So
important.
the phishing filter is actually a service that's run in another part of the company that we hook into. It's the same service that's used by the MSN and Live toolbars. And it's actually very advanced stuff where we think it's really going to help people like my dad who just randomly click on the
Totally.
mails that they get from PayPal that aren't really from PayPal. We've done a lot of work around IE and the whole area of spoofing and
Yes.
people trying to get your attention. So making sure that you can't overwrite the address bar, making sure that in fact you can no longer write from script to the status bar at the bottom of the browser window. And so that the user knows that the area around the HTML window is owned by the browser itself, and that's going to give you information about the browser, whereas what's within that HTML area, that's the website. And you know, there's a certain amount of caution you should use around the content within that window, but around it you can trust the browser to be giving you information.
Cool. And so, as we discussed earlier, Internet Explorer is going to keep evolving, and I think people get that now. It's really not even open for debate. But in your opinion, well, I guess we can't talk. Just one more time, please say we. No.
No, I'll talk about the future.
Well, let's talk about the future a little bit. I mean, are you going to make? I mean, clearly security remains a huge investment. What are some of the other investments you're thinking about?
So I think that you're going to see us continue to invest in 3 key areas, which is firstly security. The bad guys aren't going to go away. They're going to continue to attack us. We're going to continue to make it more difficult for the bad guys to attack us, and they're going to start looking at other pieces of software and other ways to attack us. So you're going to see us continue to work on the user experience. The tabs is just the first stage of making sure that users are more productive on the web. Having the search box there, just making sure people can find their stuff. And we think there's a lot of work that we can do around the user experience moving forward. And finally, the platform. Making sure that we are a good web platform, and that means better standard support. We've heard loud and clear from web developers they want to see better standard support. We know we've got more work to do there. CSS 2.1 and passing the ACID 2 test, those are both clear goals for future versions of IE. I don't know if we'll get there all in one go with the next release, or whether it's going to take more than one release to get there, but we're definitely working in that direction. And what's going to help us prioritize the work is understanding what are the pain points that are that real web developers are feeling today, and how can we address them? What are the top features from those standards that are really going to shave 20 minutes off a web designer's day, or save 2 hours of debugging for the average web programmer? That's the sort of stuff that we're going to focus on, and certainly making sure that there's a consistent code base. If you look at the work we've done in IE7 for CSS, a lot of the work has been fixing things that were just plain funky and wrong in IE6. These things were so notorious that they have these famous names: the peekaboo bug, the guillotine bug, and the 3-pixel drop bug. And these sorts of things were where somebody would carefully lay out their web page and get an element just where they want it on the page. Then they'll change some seemingly unrelated part of the cascading style sheet for the page, and suddenly we go and render that element over the other side of the world. And doesn't follow any rhyme nor reason unless you happen to understand the real intricacies of the layout engine of Internet Explorer, which the majority of people don't.
No, it's a very complicated piece of code.
It's giving people a basis on which they can rely, so they know that when they change a piece of style sheet, it's only going to affect the elements that you expect it to affect, and not all the positioning of other elements, so that then developers can actually concentrate on building a great application and not working around issues all the time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, there is this issue, and we sort of touched on it earlier when we talked about compatibility, where we want to move the web forward, and that means that some existing web pages will change their behavior, particularly if they're declaring what we call the doc-type strict at the top of the page. Then it means that we're going to start to interpret the CSS rules more correctly in IE7 than we did in IE6. And suddenly your layout may look a little bit strange. And we've got some documentation up on MSDN to help people work around some of the common issues, where people were relying on incorrect behavior in IE6, or even selectors syntax that wasn't supported in IE6 but was part of the standard. Suddenly we start to support it, and we take notice of this stuff, and we render the page differently. So there's different ways to work around some of those CSS hacks, as we call them. And if you're out there designing web page, it's probably IE7's already being launched as people view this, but do test your pages against IE7 and make sure that your pages work well, because your users are going to be having IE7 very, very shortly now, and they'll be hitting your website with it.
And you guys provide tools, right?
We've got some great tools. There's great tools in terms of the developer toolbar that allows you to diagnose what's going on in a particular page. There's another tool called Fiddler, which is written by Eric Lawrence, one of our program managers for networking, that allows you to see all the HTTP traffic between the box and the web. There's a user agent string utility. A lot of websites are blocking access to IE7 because they don't recognize the IE7 user agent string. This is a little utility that allows you to pretend to be IE6, so you can check if that's the issue when you're hitting a website, and then you can report it to us, and we'll work with the website to get them updated as quickly as we can.
Very cool. So I guess, the one last thing to talk about would be, I remember, when we were talking to Doug, right? Him and I were on the same team for Windows Update when I was a web developer and writing code and whatnot. And one of the things I always remembered about IE was that it was always innovative in the sense that it really provided a real platform as opposed to, say, Netscape 4 back then. And there was just really cool things you could do. It had a lot of power, it had a lot of expressibility. So the thing that concerns me about, and I'm sort of a vociferous person about not being so freaked out about standards, but that's my own opinion. Standards are important, but let's talk about innovation. Let's talk about not just being the same as Firefox.
I think people often confuse standards with a lack of innovation, or they think that standards and innovation are incompatible. They're not. Standard support is really important so that there's an interoperable web on which web developers can rely. Now that doesn't mean that we can't innovate within that area and actually then take some things to the standards bodies so that we're driving into the next generation of standards what real world web developers want. And so not only do we want the feedback now as to help us prioritize the next set of work for Internet Explorer 8 and 9 and so forth, it's in the ideal world, what functionality would you like to see in the web platform, and can we actually engage with the web standards bodies so that we're driving that into the standards moving forward? But there's also room for innovation. If you look at the RSS support that we've added, that's clearly going to help take RSS into the mainstream by having a web platform that's the basis for, or a Windows platform that's the basis of RSS. So what you discover with RSS in IE7 and subscribe to through IE7 is then part of this Windows RSS store, and other applications can make use of that store. It's a new integration point for Windows applications, and I think that's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
It. And it was nice to meet you.
Awesome to meet you. Good to be here.
Good job. You joined a really interesting team.
Absolutely.
Has a very bright future.
I think so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, and we'll try to make it over now to Building 10. Depends on my battery.
Okay, well, let's work quickly so the battery doesn't die.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and pause it.
Okay.